Hello everyone, it's Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist and oncology nutrition consultant. So today's session is all about menopause in relation to your gut. So my first question is, have you noticed any changes in your digestion? Are you dealing with frequent bloating? Are you dealing with any changes in your bowel habits like constipation or diarrhea since you started perimenopause or menopause? If yes, drop a yes below. If no, drop a no in the comment section. Today, we are going to talk about gut symptoms that are very common and under talked in menopause. We will be discussing how menopause actually changes your gut. We are going to talk about the estrobolome, which is your hormone recycling system. We are also going to talk about rebuilding your gut for hormonal balance. And we are going to cover all these topics. So, if you have attended the previous three sessions, today's session is going to tie everything together, right? So how menopause or perimenopause is going to change your gut? So this is one thing that a lot of my clients, that see me, come to me, and they're either in the perimenopause phase or in the menopause phase, and they start suddenly experiencing massive digestive changes, massive changes in their gut health. They're constantly bloated, they are tired, they are not digesting the food, they start getting acid reflux, they start getting constipated. Some of them develop inflammatory conditions of the bowel, and these are all reasons because of the menopause changes. Now, most people have no idea that estrogen and progesterone receptors not only are present in your ovaries or your reproductive organs, but these estrogen and progesterone receptors are going to line your entire digestive tract. So when your hormones are shifting, gut changes will occur. So gut motility, which is the movement, the peristalsis of the gut, that will slow down. Your gut can get more inflamed, as well as the variety of microbiome. How many different micro bacteria are there, good bacteria that are protecting you. So that all also change, and this is what's leading to the bloating, constipation, diarrhea, as well as food sensitivities. So I also have a lot of clients that come to me and they're like, oh, I ate wheat all my life, or I was eating corn all my life, or I was never dairy sensitive, and now suddenly I'm dealing with all these sensitivities. I have a lot of women in the perimenopause, menopause coming to me with skin rashes that are absolutely not changing no matter what they do. Sometimes they'll do some dietary adjustments, they'll do some elimination diets, but it's not changing. So that's when we have to look at the hormonal aspect of it as well. So gut brain axis means that gut disruption is directly going to impact your brain as well. So this is also one of the reasons why women in perimenopause or menopause start experiencing mood shifts. You are irritable, you are anxious, you have poor mood or low mood, and even your clarity. Sometimes women will talk about having brain fog. I don't know, I'm pronouncing things funny today. So they have a lot of brain fog. So the cognitive clarity, that mental clarity that you experience, is often suddenly, that disappears when you hit menopause or perimenopause, right? So this is all to do with menopausal changes that your gut is experiencing. Now there is a thing called estrobolome, which is a specific set of gut bacteria, and they help regulate hormonal levels in your body. They help regulate the levels of estrogen in your body. So when these get disrupted, if you're having antibiotics, people who get recurrent infections, people who are sick constantly, people getting colds all the time, or some UTIs all the time, which is also very common around this perimenopause menopause phase. You could have vaginal infections, yeast infections, bladder infections, UTIs, and you may go through rounds of antibiotic. So this is going to disrupt that hormonal system, which is cleaning out the bad estrogens. If you have a poor diet because you have lots of cravings at this time, if you have a poor diet because of high stress, you're emotionally eating now, right? And because of certain age related changes, and age doesn't always mean your chronological age, right? It's not always that, oh, if you're 40 years old, you're 40 years old. Your metabolic age could be much higher. So you may be 40 years old, but you may have the body of a 45-year-old, right? So that's your metabolic age. So all this is going to disrupt your gut bacteria that are actually helping you clean up the unnecessary estrogens in your body, and this leads to what's called as estrogen dominance. So estrogen dominance is also one of the reasons why, if you're experiencing a lot of heavy periods, right, if you're experiencing a lot of hot flashes, if you're experiencing bloating, so depending on what your microbiome is doing, you may have too much of estrogen, and sometimes your estrogen can just disappear very fast, right? So then you have low libido, you're tired, you have brain fog. So this is also the reason why two women with similar hormone levels but have completely different profiles in the body, right? You may do a blood test and you have certain levels may be similar, but what's going on in your body is completely different, because it also depends on your gut and how it's responding. Now, how do we rebuild the gut, right? So, one thing is always have a different variety of foods. Eating the rainbow is not a joke or funny statement. It is something that we should all practice, especially if you are someone who is trying to prevent any kinds of cancers as well. You need to make sure you're getting as many different foods from vegetarian sources, especially as many plants as possible. And these plants have what we call phytonutrients, certain chemicals that work as powerhouses, and they're going to help balance the body. A lot of these phytonutrients, whether we talk about different colored fruits and vegetables, the purples in red cabbage, or purple cabbage, red cabbage, pomegranates, all those anthocyanins and all, they are going to be cancer protective as well. They're going to protect your body against variety of cancers. They're going to keep your inflammation much lower. They are really going to support your overall health. So that's why eat a variety of plants. Plant vegetables are going to help detoxify. They're going to give you enough fiber as well, and fiber is the food that your microbiome needs. When we talk about estrobolome, when we talk about specific bacteria in your gut, you also want to make sure that you're feeding these bacteria, right? So eat as much as you can. Fermented foods, have them in small quantity but on a regular basis. Do not overindulge in fermented foods, because what I've seen in my practice is women at this time have high pitta, because you're going from the pitta fiery stage, towards the vata stage. Often, if you have too much of that fiery foods, it's going to throw your digestion off. It can create a lot of histamine issues. So I would avoid too much fermented foods, but small amounts regularly is perfect. You can go for prebiotic foods. You can avoid all those disruptors of the gut, ultra processed foods. Alcohol is absolutely something that you need to avoid at this time, because it just makes everything else worse. And unnecessary antibiotic use as well. And then probiotic support is extremely important. Now, different probiotics work on different aspects of the digestive tract. So if you are looking at more gut support, feel free to book a one-on-one, and we can really talk about your requirements. We can talk about whether the probiotic you're taking is the right one for you or not, right? So all these we can talk about. And I've covered 4 sessions now. I've talked about, blood sugar. We've talked about metabolic health, metabolism, body fat. We've talked about cortisol. We've talked about the gut today. They are all interconnected and they all affect each other. So in Western medicine, you are going to see that endocrinologist is going to primarily work on your hormones. A gastroenterologist is primarily working on your gut health. Um, Rheumatologist is going to work on your bones, but from a holistic perspective, everything is communicating with everything in the body, right? And you cannot section the body off that, hey, I just want to improve my hormones and I can forget about digestion. Doesn't happen that way, right? So if you are looking for one-on-one support, if you're dealing with a lot of gut issues, if you're dealing with any of these menopausal changes or perimenopausal changes, there is a link below where you can click and book a 15-minute free consultation where we can discuss your requirements and how we can work together. Also, a big shout out once again that the Thrive Together Summit is happening this Saturday, April 25th. I'm going to talk about the menopause metabolism reset, functional nutritional blueprint to optimize weight, restore focus, and reclaim your energy during menopause journey. So you can sign up using the link that's been provided, and I'll hope to see you there. So we can meet one on one. There is a lot of opportunity for one on one time at the summit as well. So if you haven't yet purchased your tickets, it's time to get your ticket, and I will see you this Saturday. I will be back next week with more talks on Wellness Wednesdays at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. So if you have any topics that you are curious about, that specific ones that you want me to talk about, you can post them in the comment section as well, and I'll make sure I'm back and I talk about those topics too. So have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.